3-day event. Today is addressing chronic stress, or I think everyone knows about cortisol now. It's basically your stress hormone. And basically just talking about what's going on with that. Like, why is it that everyone seems to have like a cortisol problem these days? And what does it mean? Because cortisol itself isn't actually bad. We actually need it to have any get up and go and any motivation or drive to do anything. And it kind of keeps us alive. Like, if we didn't have cortisol, we'd just be like, well, dead, but definitely no energy, no drive to do anything. And like, we just wouldn't survive, which is what kind of happens when people get burned out. Their cortisol gets so low that they can't even, like, it's a struggle to like get out of bed or do anything or find the energy or motivation or for anything. Um, so it's not a bad thing, but what isn't great is that it's really dysregulated these days. So today I'm kind of like talking about that, but I'm also going to talk about um intention setting and why that's really important when you're doing, if you're trying to get from A to B, if you're stressed, tired, burnt out, whatever it is, or if you have um period problems or any health issues, or if you're have any behaviors that like you just don't want to be doing in life, to get from A to B where you feel more calm, regulated, healthy skin, like easeful periods. um you kind of have to like paint the picture of what you want for your mind to register that it's important to you. If you don't actually map it out or decide where you want to go, um you kind of will never get ahead, because you'll be doing things but you won't know why you're doing them, or your brain won't deem them important. So that's really important. Tomorrow I'm talking about the nervous system and the different states we can find ourselves in. Particularly, it's usually a problem when we get stuck in a state. It's not the actual being stressed, it's the fact we're stuck in stress, or it's not being kind of like shut down or burnt out. It's more the fact we get stuck there. And like, what's going on in our bodies, how to recognize where you are and how to actually get out of it, because it's different for each stage. And then day 3 is talking about emotions, because they have like a huge impact on our health and our nervous system. Probably one of the like most important things when it comes to nervous system regulation, because they have such a big impact on our nervous system, and basically how these emotions affect our lives. Because again, emotions like cortisol are neutral, they just are, but it's how we look at it, or it's like the way in which we're processing it, that makes it like unhelpful or unwanted. And we'll talk a little bit about how to start like processing them on day 3. And basically all of this comes together as a part of like my overall framework in my longer course Revive. But this is still like a major part. Like, there's so much to learn in these 3 days, and they're really just a snapshot into like what it takes to start healing your body, or start feeling better day to day, not as stressed, not as reactive, not with all these kind of health symptoms like low energy, cravings, bad sleep, um, getting sick all the time, being really like reactive to things. You're like, I don't know why I was so reactive, and just constantly kind of being in that state of stress. Um, so I learned this the hard way. Really fun being a guinea pig to come about this framework. So after chasing symptoms and body goals for a long time, I suffered with like just debilitating periods in my teens that, yeah, I had pain. My periods like disappeared, but I still had like all these aches, pains, back pains, bloating. I just couldn't function around like my period. It was that bad. So they did a couple of tests, and then they just put me on the pill. What I didn't realize at the time was the pill was actually just turning off the symptoms that were already going on in the background. So I was just like turning off the messages that my body was telling me that something was wrong. And I went another 15 years not really addressing those, because the pill suppressed them all. I would still get like mood swings and things like that. I could still get like a bit of PMS, because that isn't all to do with the pill, and still had like other health issues. But it kind of took the edge off. So I was able to ignore it a bit more until I had my first baby. And then that took a toll on my body. And then a year later, I just completely burnt out, which I'll talk about in a second. Um, but I can say taking care, like learning about the nervous system, how my body and brain are actually reacting to everything. What was my role in this? And I don't even mean like neglecting my nutrition and things like that, because that was probably the best it had ever been because I was studying clinical nutrition at the time. So I did need to step that up a bit and learn how to nourish my body while I was in this really like burnt out and stressed state, because it does change from if you're kind of mostly healthy, you're not really burnt out, you don't have all these like severe hormonal issues, you can relax a bit more around eating and things like that. And had I stayed in the stress state, I would have been chasing my tail constantly, being so strict with my nutrition. And um, I'm sure if anyone has any gut issues because of stress, you know it can get just more restrictive and more restrictive because your body gets so sensitive to everything, because stress causes your immune system to like overreact to everything. So, I have worked with people and they can barely eat anything because their bodies and their gut, which is connected, the mind gut connection is so strong that any stress kind of shows up in the gut like straight away, and it can impact the gut a lot and cause you to have all these intolerances and sensitivities. Um so yet we'll learn about the nervous system here, stress hormones, and how it affects like everything in your body. Like for example, when cortisol is high or when it's really really low, it can affect your body's like digestive enzymes, your how you digest things. This can lead to constipation, gut upset, sensitivities, and bloating. How stress, even if you're eating to manage your blood sugar, which in Revive I cover blood sugar anyway, because that's really important. If that's out of balance, then so is your cortisol. But even if you're eating to balance your blood sugar, if you're stressed, it kind of overrides that. You're kind of getting all these cravings and poor sleep and mood swings, despite the fact your diet might actually be good, or you may find it difficult to lose weight or gain muscle because of the effects of cortisol, which causes insulin resistance, and that can affect your weight. Um, Cortisol affects the balance of your reproductive hormones, so like estrogen and progesterone and testosterone, and this causes lots of period problems, PMS, mood swings around that time. Endometriosis, PCOS, it can exacerbate them, if not cause them, because again, endometriosis can be linked to immunity issue, and cortisol can cause overactive immune reactions. This is all if cortisol is out of balance, if it's going too high for too long, um, and it's like way too high and you're stuck there because your nervous system gets stuck there and it continues to churn out cortisol even when you technically should feel safe. Your body just keeps producing it, and then this can lead to lots of rashes, digestive upset, and can lead to autoimmune the conditions that can affect. A common one amongst women is Hashimoto's thyroiditis, and a lot of people can develop this after they've had babies. If you're not careful, and it is something that's preventable. That's why that's why I do what I do, is because it's really frustrating to know that something they are preventable through diet, lifestyle, managing your stress, and the things that I teach and Revive. Because sometimes diet and lifestyle, they're only the tip of the iceberg. It's actually our unconscious thoughts, how we feel about ourselves, and those unconscious thoughts drive our behaviors, which drive our cortisol up. And then the other thing is your emotional well-being, like how in tune with you are you with your emotions, and can you process them? Because if we don't process them, emotions are meant to flow, we're meant to like feel them. It takes like technically it's meant to take like 90 seconds for the emotion to pass, but because we either resist it or we don't know how to process it, it gets stuck in our body, and we push it down, and all this stuck energy in our body causes our nervous system to stay in fight or flight, or if it's all too much, it goes into shutdown, which we'll talk about tomorrow. um, And the other important thing is um, these 3 days are like packed full of like information for you, things that will definitely help you. Like I said, it's only a piece of it, but it's still really, really valuable. Like there's things you can implement here. Um, there's things that will affect everyone, but you have to like invest in you to see or like the results. You have to time was like a big one for me. I was used to the quick fix. I think in the modern world, we're used to everything being now like a quick fix. Why isn't this happening? And we think there's something wrong with us if it's not happening. Learning to recover from burnout, that was a longer journey than I ever wanted it to be and expected it to be, because I just wanted to feel better. And unfortunately, trying to force it sometimes, or not being patient with myself or healing, and not giving it enough time, doing the little things every day that build up, um, is actually the way that you heal your nervous system. Because if you go like all or nothing, it puts more stress on it and you get more stuck. So, you have to invest in you, energy, maybe money sometimes, um, but it's just more showing up and doing the little things along the journey that make the difference. They all build up over time, and just getting over that quick fix mentality, because the results are usually on the other side of where you want to kind of give up, or you kind of think it's not working. um yeah, and like I said, if you're not willing to invest resources in yourself, invest in you. I'm kind of talking to the moms here, because we tend to do everything for the family, we do everything for the kids. I can imagine what we buy our kids and we go without. um but health is just one thing that you shouldn't be pushing yours aside, because it's literally when you tell yourself you're not worthy, subconsciously, by not putting yourself first, by not meeting your needs, by you just putting up with the fact that you don't feel good, but it doesn't matter, you just keep pushing through and being there for everyone else. You're telling your body that you're not worthy of healing, of feeling good. And there's a lot to be said for that, those unconscious beliefs that are driving like our health and things like that. So I'm Michelle, I'm mum to 3-year-old Ava, and fur baby Nala. And we all live with my husband Jeff on a farm in New Zealand. I'm a functional clinical nutritionist, women's life coach, like NLP and breath work facilitator. I've got a long history of like healthcare, as I was a dentist before. And yeah, I've always been interested in nutrition, health, wellness, and it started off as probably unhealthy, like just in a way to like control my body, and over time, it's grown to be more about looking after myself from a health wise. Yeah, trying to heal like those period symptoms. Like I said, I've had my whole life. Everyone just thinks it's just me. Like I just have PCOS, or I just have it, when actually there's a lot of things in the mix that are causing it, things that are controllable. um if we just take the time to like change our thoughts, change the way we're eating, um change like the energy that we show up with sometimes, because as women we tend to like keep wanting to prove our worth, and we will work, 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 work. And it's this hustle culture and things like that that are causing a lot of these issues. And then, of course, years ago, the pill was introduced to, we were kind of getting these symptoms from our body saying things aren't right, like things aren't right, but we shut them down with pills and things like that. And now I think it's getting to the point where the pills kind of aren't working, because a lot of people are like autoimmunities on the rise, all these period problems are on the rise, burnout and stress related, like anxiety, depression, they're all on the rise. So um, where am I? I was studying clinical nutrition when I suffered the most with burnout, which led me to specialize more in women's health and hormones, particularly busy women, mums to be, and perimenopause. That's particularly because those times of hormonal shifts put a greater stress in our bodies. So it's where the cracks start showing. So things that we've been doing for years, like things that I was doing all throughout my 20s that I kind of got away with, and I um like masked with the pill and things like that. After I was a mom, like it just, the toll that took on my body, like I just couldn't um hide it anymore. Like all these health issues were like, no, you have to deal with us now, or else like you literally can't function, um, and pushing through and pushing through. I don't know, I probably would have ended up with like an autoimmune disease or something like that if I hadn't actually been able to stop and be like, there has to be another way. And then that led me into, like, it was like functional women's nutrition, learning more about testing and things like that, and lifestyle. And also then the nervous system and how our emotions and stock energy was a major cause of all the hormonal imbalances and the burnout. Um, yeah, that it's all connected. Um, so I should actually probably, yeah. The pillars I've included in Revive or in my program is like, well, in everything I do in my one-to-one, is more, we're not just the physical. We, a lot of us, we try and solve things with the physical, like supplements and food and change the exercise and fat, try different diets and things like that. But as a whole, like as humans, we mind, body, energy, emotions, and there's also like a spiritual aspect to it. I don't go too much into that because that's everyone's own choice, which I just believe spiritual is just believing in something higher than yourself, like believing in something bigger. Um, but today we're talking about when it comes to cortisol, we're talking about your body or the physical. But to heal, you kind of can't ignore all of them. So yeah, that's just something to like understand, that it's not just one piece of the puzzle. And it can seem a bit overwhelming. You're like, oh, I've got to my whole life, got to sort my whole life. But they all interconnect. When you improve one, it improves the other. And when you improve a different thing, that it has a knock-on effect. So it's not like you're doing everything separately. And so when it comes to intention setting, I said I was going to do a meditation with you today, but I might record it separately because of time and things like that. Plus, having it separately will be more accessible to actually do it. Um, so with intention setting, it's like in our brain, we have like a GPS. Our brain is, if we were to take in all the information of our surroundings, our heads would explode. Like my clothes touching my skin, all the lights, all the colors, all the sounds. If I was to tune into everything and deem everything important, my head would just explode. It's too overwhelming. There's too much to focus on. Like every sight, smell, taste, feeling. If we were to be aware of it all right in this moment, you can imagine that's a bit overwhelming. So we've got this thing in our brain called the reticular activating system, and it's basically like our brain's filter. So it deems things important or not to focus on. So right now I'm talking to you, my focus is on the presentation. Yet there's so much going on around me. I can look out the window outside, but I need to focus here. So my reticular activating system has literally like phased everything else out. It's the same when we have goals and things like that. If you're focusing on everything that's wrong with you, if you're focusing on um, all your different like symptoms and your aches and your pains and you're tired and you feel nauseous, if you focus on all the things that are wrong and your periods are a nightmare, you're giving more energy to those, and your body is deeming them important. So it's giving more energy and focus to them, which releases more cortisol, by the way. Uh, and what to just take away from the negative for a second, you have to visualize what you actually want, where you're going. Not only does that kind of again take away from the negative so that your body can not be as stressed, when it's a negative thing in the that you're you wanted a more positive, like what do you want? And it might help to start with what you don't want. You don't want your low energy, you don't want your cravings, you don't want your aches and pains. So what do you want? You want to get out of bed in the morning with loads of energy, like in a good mood. You want your periods to be easy. You want to be non-reactive, like you want to respond instead of react. You don't want to be feeling sad or angry all the time. You don't want to snap at the kids, and then turning that round to what do you want in your life, with your health, in your family life, with your friends, with work, and kind of going through those different aspects. and kind of deciding what you do want. And that's like when you write that down and you focus on that, and daily or at least a couple of times a week, you can do like a visualization, which I'll do with the meditation. Um, you're programming that into your basically your inner GPS. So then your reticular activating system thinks, oh, this is obviously important to her. She's thinking about this quite a lot. So it will look out for um, opportunities in the day to do so. In between, you want to decide what action steps do you have to take to get there. Obviously, in my program or even today, I'm going to tell you some action steps you can do, but you can also just think of things for yourself. You know, is it eating well? Is it exercising? Is it um, learning more about your emotions and learning to sit and process them? Whatever it is that is a step in between from A to B, you make that out, and then your brain starts looking for opportunities to do those things. Whereas if we don't think about the future, if we don't think about what we want, we're kind of just going in the dark, where our brain's kind of in the dark. It doesn't know what to focus on. It doesn't know what's important. It's not looking for opportunities to do the things that will help you. Instead, it's much easier for it to just do what it's always been doing. Your brain will always choose a familiar hell over an unfamiliar heaven. Um, so this is why, as well, with nervous system regulation, if you're stuck in a state, why it's hard to get out of it, because your brain would rather stay there if you're safe rather than try something new or do something new. So by visualizing it, writing it down, focusing on your goals and the action steps it takes to get there, you start programming your brain to do those things more or to deem them important. So in Revive, we'll also be looking at like resistance and limiting beliefs behind what may be stopping you, because like I said, our bodies will always choose what's familiar, even if it's not helpful. It's not helpful, even if it's keeping us miserable and sad and angry and sick. Um, if it kept you alive, it thinks, oh, this must be good because we're alive, rather than thriving. So here are some of the things to think about when you're creating your vision. Like, where are you now? What's not working in your life or with your health? What would you like to change? How do you want it to look? And how do you want it to feel? What is like your ideal scenario? Like in your ideal life, how would you feel, look? What would you be thinking? Um, how does this version of you think? What does she do differently? What are her habits and daily routines? What does she think about her body, her health, and her life? Does she invest in herself more? Just any of those things: time, money, energy. Does she value herself more than you are valuing yourself right now? Is she putting more time into looking after herself? Um, and also, what you need to identify the obstacles, because they're much easier to face if you've kind of had to think about them before. So what's stopping you, or why are you not there now? Why are you not where you want to be? And what thoughts or feelings pop up when you think of this future version of you? Um, because these are can be your limiting beliefs. If you have any resistance to the things that come up there. So if you're thinking, oh, I want to be like full of energy, I do workouts every day and I'm so fit and healthy and I feel like loads of energy, what thoughts immediately pop up in your mind? Maybe excuses, maybe resistance, um, whatever it is. Are you thinking like, oh, but I don't have time for that, or that'll never be me, I was never able to like stick to that? What are the thoughts that are coming up for you? Because they're your limiting beliefs, they're your obstacles and resistance. And the last one is, what would this future version of you say to you now? So you can write like a letter or something from this future version of yourself to you now in, say, 12 weeks. If you've been doing the things, if you've made a commitment to yourself and you decided you're going to heal and you're going to work on yourself and give yourself more time and energy, um, and imagine what you feel like at the end, and then write a letter back to you now. Maybe it's going to be encouraging, like she knows you can do it, she's feeling amazing.